When you work with Excel on a daily basis, you want to make sure you're using it as productively as possible, and functions can help you achieve this. There are hundreds which currently exist, but today we'll run through some of the ones you should learn if you're a finance professional to give yourself an edge in the workplace. Let me know in the comments which one's your favourite, or if you think I've missed any which should have been included. First, let's take a look at some date functions, and if you want to follow along, I've put a link in the description where you can download this file for free.
It's typical in any finance role to have to create month-end dates. So let's take a look at how we do this dynamically by just changing the year in cell C2. Open EO month. This has two arguments we need to pass: start date and number of months before or after that start date. For the start date, we'll use the date function. This requires the year, which is the value in cell C2, the month, which is 1 for January, and the day, which is also 1 for the first. Close the parenthesis and type a comma to move on to the second argument. To make this dynamic, we'll use sequence. To get the months across the top, we want the rows argument to be 1, then 12 for the columns argument. Finally, for the start argument, we want this to be 0, so it starts in January. If this was left out, it would default to 1, which would result in it being February's month-end date. Close the parenthesis, and this now returns all the month-end dates for that year across the columns. Of course, if you wanted this spilled across the rows instead of the columns, you could easily change the row and the column argument for this. Now we have the month-end dates, we can make a couple of minor tweaks to the sequence function to create the start dates. I'll copy the code into the cell above, then for the start argument, I'll change this to -1, which would calculate the last day of December. All I then have to do is add 1 to the end of the formula.
Another really easy task we can get Excel to do for us is work out how many weekdays exist within each month.
We can do this by using network days. There are only two required arguments, which is the start date and the end date. Optional one is for any holiday dates you might want to exclude. I'll leave as is, press enter and copy across. Now, when we change the year, everything automatically updates.
SUMPRODUCT is pretty underrated, but as you'll see, it can make some tasks far quicker than you may have been able to do them previously.
Say you have this table of hours and rates, and you want to work out what the total cost would be. This is where we can use SUMPRODUCT to make this calculation really easy. First, select all the hours, then type a multiplication sign, followed by the rates values. For the rates column, we need to fix this in place so it doesn't move as we copy across. So I'll press F4 to make the reference absolute. Close it out and drag across. If you wanted to get the grand total for the 5 weeks, you're able to select all the hours in one go, then multiply it by the rates.
Aggregate is an incredibly powerful function. It allows you to create a wide variety of calculations with the ability to ignore certain items in your data.
If you're working with data like this, it's possible you'll quickly want to find out what the sales value for strawberry ice cream was. Of course, you could filter it and highlight the cells to get the value at the bottom, but ideally we want a better solution. In this instance, we can't use sum, as it calculates a specified range regardless of any filters applied, so this is where we can use aggregate instead. We can calculate many different values including averages, counts, maximum values, and many more, but we'll select 9 for sum. Next, we're able to select from the list of 7 options on what we want to ignore, and what you select here will depend largely on how your data is structured. I'll choose option 5 to ignore hidden rows only. The final required argument is the array, which is simply the sales values. Now, as I change the filters, my value updates too.
Vstack enables you to combine data vertically from different arrays in your workbook.
I've got 2 tables here, one for January and the other for February. These could be in different worksheets, but for this example, I'll keep them here so we can see them. To combine them, open Vstack, then select each array separated by a comma and press enter. If we now have received March's data, we can easily update our combined list by going back into the formula bar, typing a comma, and referencing the March table.
Vstack also has a twin Hstack, which combines data horizontally rather than vertically. Why don't you take a look at how you could use this in your workplace too? GroupBy is one of Excel's newest functions, but at the time of recording, it's still only available on the beta channel. If you want to get access to this, I've linked a video up in the corner on how to do that.
I've got this sales data for different products, categories, and customers. If we wanted to know the total revenue by category, we could do this by using the unique and SUMIF functions, but this involves a couple of steps. Alternatively, we could use pivot tables, but these need refreshing. GroupBy aims to combat both of these drawbacks. The first argument is the row fields. I'll select the category column for this, as I want to see the total for each distinct category. The values argument is simply the column you want to perform the calculation on, which is the revenue column. The last required argument is the function. As we saw with aggregate, there are lots to choose from, but for now, I simply want to sum, so I'll select that. This now provides me with a total for both cookies and cupcakes. If I also wanted to include the products, I could do this by just expanding the range within the row fields. There are lots of optional arguments you can play around with, like showing headers and totals. If you want to watch my in-depth video on GroupBy, I've linked it at the top so you can watch that next.
Well, there you have it. Hopefully you're able to take these away and apply them in your spreadsheets. If you found this video useful, I'd really appreciate you giving it a like and subscribing to my channel if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.